Yeah. So, Brian, what are some of the financing options that are available for solar installations here in Massachusetts?
Great question, and this is kind of a biggie, and we hear there's a lot of misinformation or the operator game where we used to when we were kids where you whisper to the next one, and by the time it gets all the way around the room, it's a totally different interpretation of what was originally said, and we hear this a lot. So I would think this it basically falls. There's two general buckets in terms of acquiring solar. There's owning the system, and then there's leasing the system, right? Or what we call third party ownership. So owning the system, you can obviously pay for it outright from your own type of financing, be it, however you have access to cash and paying for the system outright. And then in that terms, we're thinking about how quickly is it going to pay for itself, return on investment, payback years. And then there's loan options, and the loan options have matured tremendously. It's a huge industry now. That with our industry, and there are different mechanisms for specific to solar and batteries and peripherals for a project. So it's all set up to be really easy, transparent online portals, everything's online, electronic signatures, great customer service, that kind of piece. So that is really a variety of loan options, I would say. And then on the other side of what we call third party ownership, there's really two avenues. There's leasing, and then there's PPA or power purchase agreement. Um, Both of them are basically mechanisms to allow really more people to be able to access solar and to keep it simple, right? That's really what it comes down to. It's a different finance mechanism. This is the real avenue that gets a lot of play and bad press and gives our industry sometimes a challenged name, and what we have to overcome a lot of times in educating homeowners on how solar works, right? Everyone just assumes that's the only way to go about it, is that you're going to quote unquote lease my roof, or these type of comments that we hear, but really it's just a financing mechanism. And what it is that a that finance company is going to take the tax credits, federal and state, any other local incentives, and then they're going to pass through back to the homeowner cheaper electricity. So you're really swapping your bill or swapping your utility with a solar utility, right? With buying the electricity that your solar panels make in the case of a PPA, or leasing it, you're going to have a lower monthly payment than you do today, because you are realizing some of those net benefits and incentives. They're just being passed through to you in a different fashion, right? And someone else is taking them. This is a great opportunity for folks that go solar who are on fixed incomes, have maybe a great credit score, but maybe not a lot of cash on hand, are retired and have no tax equity, things like this. There's a mechanism for those folks to be able to go solar as well. So really it comes down to owning or leasing, and what's your tax situation, what's your interest to understand and realize the incentives. A lot of homeowners just don't want to understand. They just want cheaper power, right? They don't really want to understand how the pieces work. And then potentially third party ownership is a great opportunity for them to go solar.
And then go ahead and talk a little bit more about the incentives, whether they're from the state or from the federal government, and the role that those play in allowing people to get solar power.
Right. We're fortunate that there has been federally a tax credit that has incentivized folks to go solar for here since 2007, I believe. And it was supposed to sunset, and then it came back, and then it was supposed to decline, and it did for a year or two, and then it came back, and it's a significant piece to being able to save money right away, especially here in Massachusetts, because of our other local incentives as well. So the federal tax credit at 30%, that covers 30% of the cost of the solar system. So it's really significant. The state here in Massachusetts offers a $1,000 federal state tax credit as well. It's technically 15% of the gross cost of the system, but it's capped at $1,000. So right now everyone gets $1,000. And then how they work for the individual or family really depends on their individual tax situation. And that's what you want to talk to your local CPA or tax professional about. But you want to get some basic guidance on how that works and how it can be used in terms of the economics of the solar system from your installer. And then there's local incentives. So here in Massachusetts, we have an income program. It's renewable energy credits. They're based on the performance of your system, and they're cash payments made to the customer on a quarterly basis based on how many kilowatt hours their system is making. And again, there's more nuance to it, and we would go into greater detail with our clients during the education process. We have 41 municipal light plants here or utilities in Massachusetts, and each one of those has its own solar program. A lot of them have their own rebate. So in lieu of the stream of revenue over, we'll call it 20 plus years that you might get from the renewable energy credits, that utility is going to take the renewable energy credits and trade that for an upfront rebate. So in year one, customers in these municipal light plants are going to be able to realize tax credits and then a significant check back to them from their utility in the form of a rebate. So really significant incentives there. And then, of course, the bottom line that everyone's going to get, regardless of what financing mechanism you use, is net metering. The net metering is the program that's going to give you the electricity savings through having a bi-directional meter that allows you to build up credits in the months of overproduction and use those credits for future months when your solar system doesn't cover your full need. So we have a really robust net metering program, one of the strongest in the country. It's in the regulation, the utility regulations tariff. So it assures all homeowners and businesses of getting net metering if their system qualifies. And we're very lucky to have these robust incentives, but it's really necessity given that we don't source or make fossil fuels or energy from fossil fuels here in the state, and the renewable energy sector allows us to have some energy security for our region.
And with those, rebates and tax incentives, what's the process that the customer has to go through to apply for and receive those rebates? And is that something that Solaris helps with?
Absolutely. Great question, John. We don't do taxes, so that's one thing we don't do. But but everything else we do handle on behalf of the customer. So in the case of the renewable energy certificates or whatever the current income program is, the registrations with the state and the utility, however that current program works, we get the paperwork from the customer up front. We then file the paperwork at the appropriate time and take care of that on behalf of our customers. Same thing if there's a rebate program through a municipal light plant, we generally handle that paperwork too, make sure we have the proper filings, the proper equipment, the proper communication set up as well. So, and then net metering is all through what we do with the utility for the application and regulations as well. So we handle everything for your solar and energy system, aside from doing your taxes for you.
Are there any special programs for low-income households in Massachusetts?
They are. I mean, we're very fortunate that our state, again, is very progressive and aggressively seeking the adoption of renewables and specifically solar and storage as well, and other peripherals. And they've also really seen the disparity between who's getting solar and who's not, and I've tried to incentivize and create programs for mid and low income families to be able to access solar more easily. So there's financing mechanisms There's different programs through the utility, and depending on which utility you're in, and then what area you're in, there's different cities that have some programs as well. There's some rebates to be had as well through the utility, depending on the products and services that they're looking for. So, absolutely, there's more and more access to energy security and through solar and storage systems than ever before for all individuals and families.